Hello, welcome to another Friday video. So we're going to take another up-close look at some Magic the Gathering artwork, seeing as this week I've been looking at Morningtide. We'll do that set. I'm going to primarily focus on elementals because I find the artwork really interesting and in some ways quite disturbing. But also there's a few other things in here. I've got a foil in here and couple of artifacts as well because they look interesting, and one of the pieces of land artwork from the set. And yeah, I'm basically having to go with what I've obviously opened in the past, which is only around the equivalent of 10 boosters of a Morningtide, so that's what I've got to work with. I won't be looking too much at the rules text on this, but if I get the occasional one where it's interesting, I might just sort of pull it up so you can have a look at it. So we've got our first elemental here. We've got Meadowboon. Something I'd mentioned, I think, before, counters were a thing in the set, but in addition to the specific ability that was keyworded in the set, and what I'm thinking of there is the keyword reinforce, where you could discard a card and then put counters on something else. So yeah, on a target creature. So with that, there were also other cards in the set that didn't reference reinforce, but did allow some counter shenanigans. And this is a good example on here. In addition to this being an evoke creature, and I spoke about evoke in the set musings for this, so I won't go back over it here. But you'll see this one also does some stuff with counters. And we've got, of course, this card, which is fairly well known with respect to reanimation decks, or decks that interact with the graveyard in some way. It's another evoke creature, and there's the graveyard interaction ability. Very interesting piece of elemental artwork here. So these are all elementals. And we have that counter theme again. Just take some time to look really closely at this one, because it's only when you get up nice and close you start to see things that you mainly hadn't noticed in the artwork. When you just see it at sort of normal size. And again, more counter stuff. So this has always interested me, this particular card. The Supreme Exemplar. And this one I don't think I opened. This is from a deck, like an elemental deck. And although I didn't mention when we were doing set musings, you can see this is a card from Morningtide which does still have Champion on it, which was something from the Lorwyn set. I wanted to take a look at a foil. So this is Stream of Unconscious. It's actually a tribal instant wizard, and if you remember, wizards were something that was focused on in Morningtide. They went from looking at tribal species to tribal classes, and wizard was a class. But I don't know how well it's coming across. There we go. It's probably a bit better in that position. But it's another one where the foiling looks really good in real life, but sometimes difficult to capture that well on camera. Oh, I should have given a warning for this. I'm getting onto black now, so we're going to see a few disturbing ones here. So this is Festa Creep, and lo and behold, more token, or more. I keep saying token, I mean counters. Now this is rather apt. I'd forgotten I'd actually even got this in paper. So this was this week's focus of the Commander Durdle. So this is Marilyn of the Morn Song. But again, another one interesting to see, like up close artwork for this. And if you remember from the Commander Durdle episode, this ability on here, players can't draw cards at the beginning of each player's draw step. That player loses 3 life, searches his or her library for a card, puts it into his or her hand, and shuffles his or her library. And we took a look at the different ways that this can be leveraged and abused. This is just a regular sorcery, but I really like the artwork on this, particularly when you look at it close. I did notice that there was a sort of the word I'm looking for, but these sort of paths on certain pieces of artwork. And often when you look at a set, you'll see echoes of certain things in, separate pieces of artwork. And we'll talk about that in the very last card I do. It was meandering, the word I was maybe looking for here. Another sorcery, where maybe you see a little more in the artwork when you see it nice and up close. This is another one of these conditional spells that we looked at in the set musings. So back to our elementals. Nice bit of artwork there for Fertilid, and another bit of counter shenanigans. Now this was one here. You can see again that sort of meandering path effect. The other one was obviously a crevice. This is more of a path. Recross the paths. I wanted to focus in on this, not specifically because shamans were a tribe class in here, but more the style of the artwork. There's a few cards with this that have quite a different style to them, almost look like they're pencil artwork. And that seemed to be a thing in green particularly. But I was noticing it on artwork generally. The land as well on the main set had that sort of pastel pencil style to it almost as well. So it'd be interesting to know if several of the artists, because of maybe the style of artwork that was communicated to them. Whether they opted to go down a certain medium, I don't know. If anybody knows the answer to that, then please please comment. And thanks once again very much to someone commented in the earlier video this week. A really useful comment about the relationship between Lorwyn and Shadowmoor. So yeah, that was really helpful. Thanks for that. We've got Walker of the Grove, another elemental. And another one with Evoke on it. And then a couple of artifacts, because if you remember, tribal artifacts were a thing. One for each of the classes. I've just got two here, that's all I ever pulled. So I've got Cloak and Dagger. If you remember, they were conditional in terms of whether you could attach them for free as well, based on the class. Bit of shroud going on there, and just going back to this, actually, let me put the artwork back on there and talk a little bit about that. It's always nice to sort of uncover various pieces of shroud equipment. You know, we're used to the usual ones that end up in EDH that we always see. There's two in particular that I'm thinking of for sort of protecting your commander. But I'm always fascinated when I uncover ones like this. And how that might be used in certain types of deck. Oh yeah, this one. I love the artwork on this. Somewhere I thought I may have even bought a foil version of this, but I'm not sure. And it's the one that cares about wizards. The wizard. And then finally this. It's always nice to end on a piece of land, and I'll try and do that whenever possible, because I know, like me, I have there's a number of land aficionados that watch this channel. Yeah, so I find this artwork up close pretty amazing. And this was the one, if you remember, from the set Musings, which cared about elementals. Wasn't many pieces of art in the set. There was Mutavault. I think there was, if my memory serves me correctly, there was a sort of tri-land as well. And there was a land that had reinforce on it as well. So just four pieces. The only one I have is this. I have a couple of copies of this. One's in the elemental deck. And something I read, and again, if someone knows whether this is still the case going forward, was one of the requirements, I believe, for pieces of art that were created for land is if it was land that generated multiple colours through some mechanism, as this does, was the presence of a rainbow. I don't know if they carried on with that or not, but that's something I had read when I was looking at the Vivid Lands for last week's episode. So again, if anybody knows the story behind that and whether it's something they've continued with, yeah, let me know in the comments. Okay, there we have it. So I've saved the best till last. One final thing, and it's not really related so much to this channel. Well, it is indirectly. If you remember, probably, I don't know, whether it was a year or so ago, I used to do a lot more relaxation videos. And I've not been doing so many recently, but if you are interested in relaxation content, one thing I've just started is I have just started a podcast where I'm going to start putting my relaxation scripts on there. I know it's not something you can look at, but the advantage of being a podcast is it's easier to download and listen to offline if that's something you need to do. So it's already up on Spotify. I'm endeavouring to get it onto Google Play, and also I envisage at some point I'll make it available through Apple Podcasts as well. But I'll include any links of currently available issues of that podcast and that episode. It's called Easy Relaxation. No pun intended, but it's easy to find on Spotify, but I'll include the link. Not so easy to find on Google Play, even though I've been told it's been distributed there through my panel, my podcast panel. So yeah, if you're interested in listening to those again, then going forward, that's going to become the medium for it. And as we go on, I'll make it more available outside of things like Spotify, because I realise that people obviously have to be members of Spotify to access it. But at some point I will put the odd relaxation video on this channel as well, where it revolves around artwork, particularly artwork as nice as this. So thanks for watching. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next video.